Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me, Cynthia, and all of those of you who are in the fruitarian lifestyle group joining me either now or in the future. I am so excited to be making a new friend who has an incredible story. Your story has something to do with, I would say, attaining and achieving the body of your dreams while also maintaining and achieving a balance in the mind, body, and spirit. So, would you give us just the briefest update for how you found yourself in the fruitarian lifestyle group with me, and how you ever found out about the word fruitarian, and maybe we can talk a little bit about what that means to you versus the word raw vegan.
Yeah. Hey, Vic. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be making a new friend as well. I think I may have come across you from Bobby Smith, maybe. I'm not sure. But all I know is it happened. And I love that. And it's so funny because up until maybe a few weeks ago, had not even heard of a fruitarian. And believe it or not, yes, I am raw right now, but the past few days, up until a couple of days ago, I actually was a fruitarian, and I didn't do it on purpose. It kind of happened. And I can tell you that it was very interesting, and we can talk about that as we move on. But yeah, and I'm so happy to be a part of your group. As I was sharing with you, I think yesterday or the other day, your photos are so vivid and they're so crisp and so clear, and it just makes you want to jump into the screen and start licking what's on the screen.
Well, one of the things I certainly love about following a fruit-based diet is that it's vibrant, colorfully, and it's appealing to us visually. I know that you have a book coming up in January. I think it's a book launch in January, so don't forget to tell us about that at some point. So maybe you can weave the two together.
Okay, we'll figure out how to do that. Thank you.
So, will you tell me a little bit about your weight loss journey?
Absolutely. My weight loss journey actually started about 4 years ago. Before that, I was like in my late 50s, and I had picked up a few extra pounds, and I couldn't seem to get them off. Now, before that, there was never an issue. When I would pick up a few pounds, I would either do a water fast for a few days, and of course, you would lose water weight, but that would jumpstart you. You know what I'm saying? Like if I would do a water fast for 3 days, I could lose 10 pounds, and I would, that would boost my confidence, and then I would figure out what to do to keep it going. However, this time around, those pounds weren't going anywhere. And I started almost bought into, which I do believe is true, but I'm a rebel with a cause. I was getting ready to buy into, the older you get, the slower your metabolism is. And I'm thinking, well, and that's true. That's probably true. And that's probably what was going on. But I'm defiant. I'm like, no, I'm going to take this bull by its horns. And these pounds have got to go. Vic, I tried everything, pills, fasting, slim fast, teas, and nothing was happening. Now, mind you, I'm a runner, and before that, I was running on a regular basis, but I did something to my back, so I had to stop running for a while. I did 5Ks, 10Ks, and I was about to start training for a half marathon when I injured my back. So to make a long story short, it seems like when I stopped running, that's when the weight started coming on, because before that, I was eating any and everything. I was not any kind of tarian. I was a food FOOD-tarian, and so, the weight just wasn't going anywhere. And so I decided that I needed to make something happen, and I did.
Mm-hmm. So it's funny to me to hear you say the word fooditarian, because I can kind of identify with that word. This is actually the second time in my life that I've been vegan. When I was 16, I witnessed my father going through a variety of health issues that culminated in his death, actually, from pancreatic cancer. And I just started going, oh no, what can I start doing now to prevent that from happening to me in the future? And that's when I started learning about how eating a plant-based diet can reduce not only your risk for heart disease, but also for a variety of cancers. But after Dad died, I didn't really have any support to keep that up in my life. I didn't have anyone direct to me who was saying, go Vic, you can do it. And it was the beginning of a dark period in my life where I didn't care what I ate. I didn't care where it came from or what it did to me. And it was kind of a snowball effect in my experience where once I went vegan again later, due to a kind of a cosmic accident of me seeing a documentary by Gary Yourofsky, without even doing anything other than going vegan again, my vibrations started to increase. I knew when I got up in the morning I was doing something good for me and something for good that was even beyond me. Like, I accepted that I had been living in denial for years about the animal, what was happening to the animals, but I also had the inspiration in my life finally, and I found the community in my life finally to be able to make lasting changes. So to bring that back to this conversation, for those of you who are watching, please do not hesitate to comment, reach out to either of us, share your experiences and your stories here with the group, because having someone there to say, I've been there, can make the difference between it being a bad day for you, feeling like you failed or didn't succeed, and feeling like, okay, you're making steps in forward motion. So I know that you mentioned you had experience with trying fasting, trying a couple of different diets. If I recall correctly from watching a little bit of your story on another interview on YouTube, there's a religious aspect to your fasting experience. Is that right? So what made the difference between just trying a little bit of fasting and moving to a totally plant-based diet?
What? Ask me that again.
Sorry, yeah, I might have cut out for a little bit there. Just what was the catalyst or the factor that changed where you went, okay, now it's time to cut out animal products totally?
Absolutely. Again, and I do want to say I'm very sorry to hear about your father, because you're pretty young, so that means he had to be pretty young. So, so very sorry to hear about him. So to answer your question, the catalyst was, so I had those extra pounds, and, I will have to say that I've never had any health issues, so it wasn't about I was suffering from any type of health issues, except for I was unhealthily overweight, as far as I'm concerned. I was considered obese because I just was. I don't do scales. I don't know how much I weigh, but I know that I was overweight and what medical science considers to be obese. And so couldn't get those pounds off. So what drove me, if you will, to the plant-based diet after running 4 or 5 miles a day, having transitioned before that now, at that point, to a pescatarian lifestyle where, of course, fruit and vegetables and fish, and running 4 to 5 miles a day, 5 days a week, and actually doing a spiritual fast with my church during Lenten for 40 days and only doing fruit and vegetables and cutting out the fish. And after coming through that 40-day fast, having not lost an inch, I'm thinking, wait a minute, something is wrong here. something is not adding up. I know I'm, at the time I was 58. I said, I know I'm older, but 40 days of only eating fruit and vegetables and I'm not losing any weight, something is wrong. That was in 2018 that I did that 40-day fruit and vegetable fast. Fast forward to 2019, another church, and yes, for spiritual reasons, we're doing the Daniel fast, with what is called the Daniel fast, 21 days of eating fruits and vegetables. And I'm thinking, okay, well, here we go again. The only thing that I'm going to be able to eliminate, of course, is fish. I ate salmon and tuna. Those were my fish of choice. And so for some reason, Vic, I don't know how, I don't know what made this occur to me, but I'm thinking because I'm supposed to be fasting for spiritual reasons, right? But I was not fasting for spiritual reasons. I must admit, I wanted to lose weight. I needed to lose weight. So for some odd reason, I don't know why, I said, okay, I've done the fruit and vegetables for 40 days and nothing happened. So here we go again. What is it that I need to eliminate to make something change? You need to eliminate the animal products, Cynthia. The fish, including dairy. You're going to not eat eggs for 21 days. You're not going to eat butter for 21 days. You're not going to drink milk for 21 days. And I will have you to know that within 7 days of that 21-day fast, eating no dairy, eating no meat, I started losing weight.
Wow. So just trying to get things straight about your story, it sounds like before you were a pescatarian, but you were also eating dairy, right?
Exactly.
Wow, it's interesting to hear your story because in my experience talking with other people who grew up in Texas, for example, a lot of times they don't even consider dairy as part of the equation. They think I'm going vegetarian, I'm going to quit eating meat. And it wasn't until I really discovered more of the story about what dairy is and where it came from and started inspecting that I realized there's dairy in so many Texas foods or foods that I interact with in my daily life. So I learned to start reading labels, and even before I went vegan for the second time, I had started discovering the concept of eating whole foods. I had seen that even the people who weren't vegan or vegetarian, but who were avoiding things that come in boxes and bags and packages and, things like that, that they seemed to have a better physique than those who were just anything-itarian. So you cut out the dairy and you saw results almost immediately within a week, right?
I'm telling you, I had moved to a new city at the time. I had a new doctor, and she was, doing my I was doing my annual exam, is what it was. And when I went to see her, I weighed in at 198 pounds. I'm only 5'5", so I was kind of heavy, okay? And so she had gotten blood work, and she wanted to, so I had to go back to get the blood work results. And then when I went back to get the blood work results, it's something else she wanted me to do. So I visited her several times within about a month and a half. Every single time within the 21-day period, every single time that I went to see her, I was losing weight. She says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I've eliminated all animal products from my lifestyle." And the rest is history. The rest is history. And to your point about the process, even the processed plant food or plant-based foods, when I once I embraced the plant-based lifestyle, because after the 21 days, like I said, I don't do scales. After I didn't see my doctor anymore, I could just tell by my clothes that I was losing weight because my clothes were bigger. But I never went back to any animal products. However, I was still doing the process like Gardein burgers and the chick nuggets or what the fake stuff, And that was cool because it was keeping me plant-based. But I had no idea, because I wasn't studying, I wasn't doing any research. I had no idea that, because I noticed at some point my weight plateaued. And I'm thinking, well, I was walking now by this time, I was literally walking 6 to 7 miles a day, eating plant-based. But I wasn't losing weight. I thought there was something wrong there. And there was. Because although I was eating plant-based, I was still consuming a lot of processed foods, which also was sabotaging me. Because you're telling me that I'm eating plant-based and I'm walking 6 to 7 miles a day. And I'm not talking slow walking. I'm talking about walking. And I wasn't losing any more weight. I thought there was a problem there. Come to find out, there was a problem. It was the processed plant-based. And I ain't mad at you. I'm not mad at anybody, because you do whatever you need to do to get you to the next point, because it got me to the next point. But let me just let you cut to the chase and just know that if it's processed, it's still no good.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there, especially like it's important to be gentle with ourselves, to be gentle with the people around us, but especially with ourselves. I've been hearing the phrase comfort food a lot in the past several weeks since we've been around the holiday, and I've been checking out some amazing, all kinds of plant-based recipes, several that are like Christmas and Thanksgiving menus, and I think it's important sometimes to have comfort, to have things that are familiar to you. So that's why we eat veggie burgers in the beginning. That's why we might make the Gardein filet chicken type of sandwich, because it looks like what we had before, and we know that we're still making a change. I will say that I had heard of a raw foods diet before I ever heard of the word fruitarian. I had heard of raw vegan, and at some point I had tried it when I was wanting to lose a little bit of weight. But I lost a little bit of weight, but I was hungry all the time. I was trying to survive on carrot sticks and guacamole, celery sticks and guacamole, and I just didn't understand that I could get the bulk of my calories from sweet, juicy fruits. I posted something earlier today about the protein in oranges, and my mom goes, "Oh my gosh, Vic, is that misleading? That's like 35 oranges." I was like, "Mom, when I came to your house the other day, I ate 20 oranges in a meal." That seems like a lot. They're small, but when you cut them all up, it's kind of like, okay, well, if you juice those oranges, how much juice would that be? Then when I looked at Chronometer, one of the tools I use to see what types of calories are in foods, that 20 small oranges is like 900 calories. 40 small oranges is like 1,800 calories. Well, about 1,800 calories is probably about how much I need to run my day, probably a few hundred on top of that. So when I realized that I could still eat sweet foods as long as they were whole fruit foods, then I could still follow, I realized I could follow a raw vegan type of diet and not just be hungry all the time and like eating a bunch of carrot sticks, which are delicious and important sometimes, but they don't digest as easily and as well as oranges and bananas, that sort of thing. So
that is so true.
It sounds like you discovered this fact kind of without having heard the word fruitarian. So when did you have a moment where you said, like, okay, I'm going to get most of my my calories and all of that from fruits today?
It actually happened just a couple of weeks ago. I was going on a trip to my cousin's college graduation. So I haven't been around these people for a while, and I knew what they were going to be doing, but I know what I have been doing, so I needed to prepare myself for the trip. We were going to be gone for about 3.5 days. And so I said, what am I going to take with me that I can eat? You know, because right now I've been basically eating salads for 205 days, literally.
Wow.
So I didn't want to be doing salads because I was going to be in a hotel, you know, so I didn't want to go. I said, you know what? I'm just going to eat fruit for that, you know, for those days. So that's exactly what I did. I grabbed me oranges, blackberries, blueberries, my favorite fruits, bananas, avocado. I raided the hotel restaurant in the morning for breakfast. I raided them and took oranges and bananas back up to my room. So that is the week that I was high fruitarian, if you will, because I did eat nuts, because I love nuts. I love my raw nuts. But my diet for those few days was actually fruit. And let me tell you, when I got back home, so we left on Thursday, we got back home Sunday evening. When I got back home and I had been eating basically fruit for those days, I didn't even want to eat lettuce. Oh. Which I don't eat lettuce, I eat spinach. It's what I eat. I eat spinach, arugula, kale. Those are my greens that I use for my salad. I didn't even want to eat a salad, Vic. I'm like, OMG. My system works good anyway. My digestive system, you know, in the mornings, you know, we just do what we do. But it was a whole nother level. It was a whole nother level. I felt different. I felt even better than I feel eating raw. When I ate a fruitarian diet for those few days, I'm telling you, I can't explain it. I'm sure you understand. I'm like, oh my God. So it was several days before I ate food again. You know, well, you know what I'm saying. It was actually, I believe it was the day before Christmas. I made a salad. I could barely finish it. I didn't finish it. I ate a fourth of it, and of course, that you don't know how much it was, but it was a nice sized salad. But I started eating it, and I felt myself getting full after I took only a few bites. This was after having done fruitarian for several days. I'm like, I can't finish my salad. Like, what's up with this? So I put the salad in the refrigerator, and Christmas Day, the remainder of that salad and a fruit bowl was my Christmas dinner. How about, what's today? Christmas was what, Sunday? Today is what, Tuesday? After Sunday, I didn't want salad anymore. All I want is fruit now. So I went to the store and I got a bunch of fruit. I bought kale and spinach and arugula just in case, but I haven't even wanted it. Yesterday, I had a bowl of, and it was something that I've been craving because I saw somebody do it, but I added something extra in it. I had a bowl of avocado, cherry tomatoes, olives, and cucumbers, and I sprinkled it with some diced jalapeno. I love jalapeno. I love heat. And let me tell you, I ate that around 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Do you know I was not hungry? I was like so full. I'm like, okay, what is going on here? So I'm thinking, am I about to become a fruitarian now? Because I've been raw now for 205 days, but that whole fruitarian experience was a whole experience.
Wow, 205 days. That's quite a run. That's admirable for anyone who knows how challenging it can be to start and create a new habit. I'd like to talk a little bit about the word fruitarian. I do use the word fruitarian to describe myself frequently, but I do also eat leaves and nuts and seeds sometimes. And so it's so fascinating to me to listen to what different people think fruitarian does or does not include. Some people, a lot of people out there say fruitarian is just 100% fruit, no leaves and no seeds. Now, you can have your own definition as you want, but what I am trying to go for when I eat like this is, what is the species-specific diet? What would humans eat out in the Garden of Eden is how I think of it. And so I think about, what do I know best about other apes on this planet? How do they forage? What do they eat? And they eat leaves and nuts and seeds too. They might even eat some insects once in a while. I'm one of the things that I've noticed that people experience when they switch to a raw foods diet is this: the weight just seems to release. It just sometimes seems to fall off, and I think this has something to do with an absence of toxins or irritating ingredients in the foods. One of my friends recently said something like, yeah, well, the people who are fat have it better because their fat is protecting them from the toxins. That's where the toxins are stored. And that's been in my ear for a week, and I've been thinking, oh, there is something to that. Because you observe when people clean up their diet, they not only do they lose weight, but they're losing weight easily. Their complexion seems to improve. Their mood seems to improve. Right? You're looking great, by the way.
Thank you.
and so the power of just changing what you eat can take you through a year or more on this diet journey. I wonder, listening to you talk about how you were eating just salads before, the personal trainer in me goes, well, was she eating enough calories? Like, where were you getting all your carbohydrates from? And so I would like to ask that question, but also to other people who may have a similar journey with you, I'd like to put the idea out there that you may go through a period of time where you're losing weight, you're eating lots of salads, and then you've maybe reached somewhat of a homeostasis and you start feeling hungry. That could be your body saying, okay, now it's time to find the perfect ratio of carbohydrates, the perfect ratio of fruits to salads. I like salads. I enjoy the fact that when I eat greens, they're hydrating to me, but they're not hydrating in the same way as an orange or a cantaloupe is. And definitely if you're eating nuts and seeds, it's helpful for digestion to make sure you're getting plenty of those juicy fruits too. So I'm trying to see what question I want to ask you exactly now. Do you feel like have you felt hungry? Do you feel like you were getting all of the calories you needed in those 200 days on raw foods, mostly salads?
I can probably count on half of a finger how many times I've actually felt hungry, and I am so serious. So let me back up. Let me tell you this. My raw lifestyle started as a 14-day challenge to myself. Nobody else did it. I just said, I'm just going to challenge myself to eat raw for 14 days because I did it for 5 days last year, and I thought something was happening, and but I didn't keep it up because I was in a different space. So this time I said I'm going to do it for 14 days, and then 14 days turned into 21. I said I'll do it 7 more days. 7 turned into 28. So I was doing it in 7-day increments, and then I just forgot about it. But I keep count on my calendar of how many days it's been. And I'll tell you what it consists of too, because when you talk about carbs and fiber and all of those things, I guess I don't even think about a lot of stuff as long as I feel okay. If my body, I feel like if my body is deficient in something, it'll let me know. So my body hasn't, and now I'm so in tune. If I start feeling a certain type of way, I'm thinking, well, you need to do this, or you need to drink some water. Maybe you're dehydrated. But I feel great. My energy level is through the roof. I totally stopped taking iron. my energy level is like through the roof. My doctor was like, die hard, take this iron. And I'm like, die hard, I don't want to take it. And I'm not taking it anymore. I'm sorry, it's over. But anyway, I'm going to answer your question, but I want to tell you this, and maybe you being a trainer and knowing more about, diet and nutrition, being a trainer, this may help to answer the question. It may or may not. So what my salad would consist of, and I would always make 2 pretty good portions, but I could never eat but one. So one was always on reserve. I thought I was going to be eating 2 salads a day. Another thing is, my first meal of the day is not usually until 2 or 3 o'clock. Mind you, this has always been par for the course for Cynthia. That's why I also believe that it depends on your body makeup. I don't think everything, there are some things that are across the board, but I really believe, in my humble opinion, that there are some things that are totally germane to who a person is and how they're built. So what a salad for me consists of is, and I usually do a power mix of arugula, kale, and spinach. I do purple cabbage. I was doing carrots until I heard Dr. Iris Latham say carrots are full of starch, so I stopped eating carrots. But before that, it was julienne carrots, high raw. So I like beans, so I would either do a chickpea or a lentil or a black bean, depending on how I was feeling that day. Olives, jalapeno peppers. I told you I like heat. Cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, avocado, nuts. Sometimes a mixture, sometimes just walnuts, or sometimes a mixture of walnuts, cashews, and pecans. And there's one more, as I can't think, but a mixture of either or walnuts, raisins for the sweet taste, and my dressing would be a little bit of olive oil with rice vinegar, and sometimes I would squeeze fresh lime. I would use, for seasoning or spices, I would use garlic powder, jalapeno pepper on top of the jalapenos, jalapeno pepper, black pepper, black salt, sometimes nutritional yeast, and I found out that too much consumption of that can offer some type of side effects. But nutritional yeast, a seasoning from Tony Sherrill, or whatever his name is. It's a no salt,
Tony
like a
Cassidy's
Cajun.
Or whatever. Yeah, that was a staple of my household.
Okay, one of his seasonings. So that is what a salad for me would look like. And it was satiating. I mean, once I ate that salad, like I said, I'm not a smoothie person. Every now and then in the morning, and for me, morning, if it was a first meal morning, it would be around 11-ish, almost be brunchish time. I may do a smoothie. And I would do that just for the heck of it, just because I thought I should. But I just don't, food for me in the morning, I don't want to eat in the morning. I just don't want to eat. So that is what my salad would look like, Vic, around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then toward the evening, about 8-ish, when I'm, ready to go in, or 9-ish, I may get a little hungry, and I would grab some nuts and eat them. So and then I drink water. Here lately, I do the apple cider vinegar concoction. That's apple cider vinegar with fresh lemons, with cayenne pepper, of course, little black pepper, and agave. The jury is still out on, the organic agave.
Yeah.
That's my drink of choice, or just plain water. So, but that was my salad, and I felt fine, and I feel fine even to this day. So what do you think?
Well, I have mixed responses. One is like, of course, do what's good for you. My other response is like, oh, I would be hungry if I were eating that. But hearing you talk about it also makes me think about, you mentioned smoothies, and our friend Bobby Smith, he's had this incredible weight loss journey. Guy's lost over 100 pounds, and he makes these gallon-sized smoothies. And one of the things that I did for myself is I said, I can eat as many bananas as I want. I can eat as many oranges as I want. And I'm a fairly active person. I like to lift weights at the gym on occasion. I go to Zumba dance class like several times a week. Right? So I spend calories, and it's taken some time to learn about that feeling of hunger. There's I've noticed different people are different when it comes to that feeling in the morning, like, oh, am I hungry? A lot of people are talking about intermittent fasting, and I do think that's a good idea. I even if I eat early in the day, it's usually not before 10. But a lot of times it's noon or so until I eat my first meal of the day. And but yeah, different people have process their nutrition a little bit differently, right? And we have different activity levels. So another thing I just want to mention that has been part of my experience is this cultural idea that sugar is bad, and that if you want sugar, it's going to make you fat, and that if you love sweet things, then you're a fatty. And so that's the nicest of the mean ways to say that. There's all kinds of mean things that people say out there, right? And we're all subjected to it the worst in middle school and high school, and as young adults, people especially don't know how to be kind, you might say. And a lot of us aren't raised, we're not raised in a way where we think about how to be kind to the people in our communities in a way that doesn't burn bridges and hurt their feelings. And so I experienced some of that of like, but before I went vegan, or at least in that time when I was eating whatever I wanted, I would go through these emotional roller coasters of, oh, this sweet thing is I want this sweet thing, it's gonna make me feel better. Oh, cakes and cookies, and just eating them, and then feeling better temporarily, but then seeing my weight kind of go up and down, and then feeling bad about whether or not my clothes fit the same way they fit last month. And I just want to say it is normal and natural to like things that are sweet, and fruits are the only foods out there that are sweet that we don't have to cook. And so since we're primates, frugivores, we're naturally drawn to things that are colorful and fragrant. So when you go to the grocery store and you're drawn to those oranges, when you're drawn to the melons that you walk past them, the berries you walk past them and you can smell them, that's good. And when you eat fruits, then all that sugar is there to delight the senses, but it's also tempered with all that water. And a lot of us are chronically dehydrated moving around in our lives. And when you eat a fruit like a strawberry, it's like a time release water because that water is bound up in the cells of the fruit, and as we digest it, it gets released in our guts, basically. So, will you tell me a little bit about food in the household when you were growing up, and how has it been for you socially making this change? It must have been challenging, right?
Not really. Okay, so food in the house growing up, not much. So that's why I was always overeating, because when I was able to get my hands on food, they say when you go to a restaurant, don't clean your plate. Well, I don't know who came up with that rule, but y'all don't know that I grew up in a household where we didn't have leftovers. We only had one portion and one helping. So when I go to a restaurant, I'm going to clean my plate. Forget manners. So we didn't have a lot of food growing up, for one. However, also, my mother did not cook like the average African American mother. She didn't put ham hocks in her greens. She put a little bit of cooking oil and some salt and pepper. I did not, when I left home, I did not go home for my mother's good cooking. My mother cooked, but my mother and father were as healthy as horses. My father worked until the day he died, and he was in his 90s, and he was a landscaper. He did lawn care. My mother she was like 5 feet, 130 pounds, and solid. Had a nice build, strong legs. She never drove. She walked everywhere she went. But back to the food thing, we didn't have cereal. Every other family had cereal. We didn't eat cereal. I don't know what we ate for breakfast. I guess grits. I don't know. But we didn't have Southern fried chicken. We ate a lot of ground beef and pork and beans, if you want to know the truth. And there was not an abundance. So I grew up not eating a lot. And so as I got older, I think that's where my problem came in with food. I can eat now, and I was eating everything in sight, right? Socially, I'm not very social, for one thing. And then I'm the type of person, I don't care what y'all doing, I'm going to do what I'm doing. So I've not had an issue with that because I'm not a very social. I'm an extroverted introvert. As I said, I always tell people, when I'm out there, but when I'm home, don't come if I didn't call you. So, but socially, it has not been an issue when I'm, people as they're catching on to what I'm doing. I think it's very, very kind that they make an effort to accommodate me when I am at a social gathering. People are very kind. And I don't go to a social gathering saying, well, I don't eat that. You know what I'm saying? I'll use an example. This weekend, I was at an event, and they had all this. It was a Kwanzaa celebration, so it was a bunch of black folks. So, they had a bunch of soul food. Everybody piled their plates up high, and I said, well, I'll just get a salad. Well, I promise you, I'm not lying to you. I go to the setup for a salad, and there's a bowl of salad like for a single serving for one person. I'm thinking, is this supposed to be for all of us? And then it was like, ooh, it looked horrible. There was no salad dressing, because I don't do the Caesar stuff and all of that. So I went back to the table and sat there. Everybody comes back with their plates piled full of chicken and dressing and all of this stuff, and they're just eating. And then this one man looks at me and he said, you're not eating? I said, no. And he was like, he just went like, and then his wife looked at me and she was like, I know they wanted to say why. If they would have asked me why, I may have told them, but since they didn't ask me why, I didn't go into my spiel, because, you're tempted to say, well, I'm not eating that because, but, I thought about you this weekend going home and having to deal with the situation, So and I'm comfortable in my skin, Vic. So when I'm out and there's nothing for me to eat, I just sit there and I don't eat. And some people give me the side eye, like, what's she doing? And some people don't pay me any attention. But I do want to, let me hold your thought, because I do want to tell you this, because I don't want to forget to tell you this. I'm being very transparent. This is the first time I've mentioned this on any of my interviews. Don't come for me, Vic, personal trainer. I have not worked out since I've been raw, because I've been losing so much weight. And I know that, I need to firm it up, and I just need to work out, because you need to do cardio and all of that. But I'm still trying to digest the fact that all of my clothes, I got to get a whole new wardrobe. So I haven't even thought about working out because, like lifting weights every day and running and walking. I've thrown it off the door, and I know that it's not just for aesthetics, but, working out, is good for you, for your heart and all of that. And the other thing, so those are the two things that I want to mention. I have not worked out since I've been raw, and I have the weight, like you said, I believe my body is now saying to me, you're good, because I don't feel like I'm just going to keep losing weight until I dry up. I believe that my body knows when I'm good. So, but I do plan to get, because I love working out, but I have not. I'm thinking, let me just chill for a minute if I got an opportunity.
You've been walking a lot, though, right? Yeah.
Yeah, from the car to Walmart parking lot to the Target parking lot to Target. I haven't. No, and I'm sorry. I'm not advising anybody to do that, but I have been hesitant to mention that because I didn't want anybody coming for me, because I know that it's not about how I look, but it's about what's going on the inside, and so I do need to be exercising. But I'm still trying to process the transformation that has happened over the past 205 days. Not just the physical transformation, but the mental transformation that's occurring, and this whole thing around food that's occurring. I'm telling you, I'm trying to process it. It's good. Everything is all good. And I'm going to get back to doing what I know that I need to be doing. And I do want to get in the fitness center, and because I do need to tighten up, because, Mama is 63 years old. So stuff wasn't tight as it needed to be in the first place. So it sure ain't now. After, I don't know how much weight I've lost since I've been raw, but I will tell you that since I went plant-based, because I do weigh occasionally at Publix because I don't own a scale, I have lost 40 pounds or more since going plant-based in 2019 to date. And to date, since I've gone raw, I meant to say I've lost, I can't wear, all of my clothes are hanging off of me, so I need a whole new wardrobe. But I wanted to throw that in. But yeah, as far as the social aspect of what's going on with me, and forgot what the other one was, I'm good, because I guess when you get a certain age, you have a certain mindset. Like they say, the older people get, they just say what they want to say. They don't care. They just tell it like it is. I've always been that way, but now that I'm like 60 plus, Lord have mercy. So I'm good. I'm doing what works for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and well, I'll address two different points. One is just the working out thing. I understand that we go through seasons in life, and that a lot of times we have a limited amount of focus for new habits. So if your habit is you're eating a new way, you're having good progress with that, don't put pressure on yourself. That also reminds me of my advice of the 5-minute rule. If you want to make a new habit, just say, I'm going to do it for 5 minutes. I'm going to get up and walk for 5 minutes. I'm going to play flute for 5 minutes. Once you've played for 5 minutes, you'll probably want to do it more after that. But then you can at least check it off of your checklist for the day. But going back to the social situation you described a minute ago, it's like, one of the things that you said is that they didn't ask why. They just gave you the big side eye. And I think that's an important point in that story, because one of the things that I have changed about how I interact with people about my diet is that I don't tell them about it until they ask about it. Because when people ask, they're giving you permission to tell them about it. Maybe that guy really didn't want to know why you weren't eating. Maybe he wasn't prepared to deal with what your answer might be. And that's probably true for a lot of people. Another thing that I have learned to be useful in particularly family scenarios is when someone offers you something that you're not going to eat, remember that most likely their intention is to include you. So I can say, thank you so much, Cynthia, for including me. I really appreciate that. But no thanks, I'm going to stick to what I brought. So we've been talking about all kinds of things. I'd like to hear a little bit about your book. Now, will you tell us about? Will you just tell us a little bit about it and what's the plan for January?
Oh yes, thank you so much for asking. Kind of bittersweet. This book was birthed out of me being one of 4 siblings, the youngest and the only girl, and all of my siblings were affected by a severe mental health issue. My oldest brother, who was bipolar, committed suicide at the age of 31 or 32 because he just couldn't manage all of what he was dealing with the bipolar. So he just decided to just say, hey, I'm out. My middle brother, who is schizophrenic, thank you. My middle brother, who's schizophrenic, has been missing for over 22 years. No one has seen or heard from him. It's like he walked away one day and walked off the face of the earth. And my youngest brother, who is schizophrenic, has been in an institution for the criminally insane for 35 years.
Wow.
My book is called Crazy Didn't Get Me, Preparation for My Destiny. And the reason I named it Crazy Didn't Get Me is because, one, that's the name that God dropped in my spirit one night. A lot of people have an issue with that word, but get over it because that's what we say. No offense intended. It is what it is. That's the term. We know what the politically correct term is, but that is the title of the book that God gave me, and that is the title that I'm using. And of course, it is because I survived. I'm here to tell the story, and I often say that people in the neighborhood would say my last name is Mobley, my maiden name. People would say all of the Mobleys are crazy, and I would say, and that's what you think, because we all are not. And I always jokingly say, but on the other hand, if you catch me on the wrong day and you push the right button, I might wear that title for that moment. So don't try me. But anyway, so I'm excited because the manuscript was actually finished in 2017. But in its proper timing and season, this is the timing and season that God has ordained for the book to be released. And it will be released on Martin Luther King Day, January 16th, 2023. However, it is available right now for pre-orders. So it's in paperback form and is also in ebook. And my primary passion here is early intervention, because that is why my brothers got to the point where they got. Because when they first began showing signs of a mental health issue, we weren't aware that that's what it was. But then when we became aware, because of the stigma surrounding mental illness, no one wanted to deal with it, which is why I have a mantra: I'm not keeping quiet anymore. And I'm not. Mm-hmm. So that's the long and short of it.
Well, thanks for sharing the long and short of it. I like hearing, when I listen to your title and I say it to myself, I hear it in 2 slightly different meanings. Crazy didn't get me, and crazy didn't get me. When it didn't get you on the first meaning, I think it didn't grab you like a monster. It skipped you on Halloween night. And on the other hand, I hear it as in crazy didn't get me, as in it skipped me. Something about your life and your circumstances made it to where you can say, no, 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 not everyone's crazy in my family. And so, will you tell me again what is the subtitle? I couldn't quite hear you.
Preparation for my destiny. In other words, what I experienced during all of those years of growing up in that environment was preparing me for this moment to be able to speak to the world and to be able to speak out and to be that voice for those who don't have a voice that's dealing with mental health issues, those who are bound by the stigma and don't want to talk about it. I am that voice. So what I dealt with was preparation for my destiny, which I'm moving in my destiny right now.
Wow, that's a powerful story. So I will definitely drop the link to that in the chat in the comments with this after the show. But you guys can go right now to Cynthia's profile. The link is there for the pre-order, so that's great. One of the things that I hear you doing is speaking up and telling a story that other people can identify with, but may not have the strength to start on their own. So one of the beautiful things about your book is that you can give it to someone and say, read this story, read this chapter, and it can get a conversation started about something that may be a little too taboo to talk about sometimes. Will you share with us one little thing or one little story from your book?
Absolutely. I think one of the book is a hard read for the most part until you get to the last few chapters that are about me, how I survived, what I'm doing now. But everything else before that, Vic, is the story. It is the raw and real deal. And one of the things in the book, one of the things that I wrote about in the book that is heart-wrenching is I grew up in a very old house, and the heat wasn't very adequate, so we had a fireplace. And the fireplace was in the living room, and we all would gather around the fireplace. And when I say we all, my three brothers and my mom and dad, and we would gather around the fireplace to stay warm. And because the house was so cold, we would almost be burning up on the front side, but the back end would be ice cold because, it was just the way that was. But my youngest brother, for some reason, we use what's called kindling, and the young folks probably don't know anything about kindling, but it's a type of a wood that, causes a fire to be able to ignite better. And then you pour kerosene on that kindling and you get this nice flaming fire. And we would all, except for me, all of my brothers were responsible for pouring that kerosene on that fire when it started to dwindle. And for some reason, my youngest brother always would spill the kerosene on what was called the hearth. That's that cement, I guess, part of the fireplace that comes outside of the fireplace. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he would always seem to spill the kerosene there, which was not a safe practice, because the fire could come out onto that and we did have carpet, and coming onto the carpet and start a fire. I remember my daddy saying to him one day, you got to stop doing this. And he said, the next time you spill that kerosene on that hearth, I'm going to make you lick it up. And I remember all of this now. Remember, I'm the youngest, and I'm listening to all of this. And lo and behold, the day came. It was my brother's turn. He was up again, and he spilled that kerosene on that hearth. And before anybody could blink, my father grabbed him and turned him upside down and had him by his feet and was pounding him head first on that cement hearth, saying, "Lick it up, lick it up, lick it up." Well, it's no wonder my brother has mental health issues. He probably suffered a brain trauma during that time, among some other things. But that is the story that came to my mind in that book about what I experienced. And in that chapter, I shed some light on how mental illness can be attributed to some other things other than genetics. Obviously, that was an environmental type of thing. Obviously, I believe he suffered some type of brain trauma that day. Why he didn't die, I don't know. So the book is not all sad because, as you can see, I have a sense of humor, so you're going to laugh. But like I said, the book is, if you will, raw, authentic.
Raw, authentic. Sounds like a good phrase for it. And when you say raw, authentic there, it makes me think of the feeling of being raw emotionally. I know that a lot of times when people go through an experience of starting and trying a fruitarian diet, they experience these raw emotions dealing with change, dealing with unfamiliarity, and earlier I was talking about comfort foods and how they serve a place sometimes, but one of the common threads that I've noticed among the fruitarian subject, the raw vegan subject, is that there's an effort to improve ourselves, to cleanse ourselves, and that's a terrible trauma you just described to me. And we all experience traumas of different sorts. Hopefully not that bad, but I'm realizing that in the world that we live in, even just through consuming media that all of us are exposed to, there's certain traumatic thought patterns that get initiated, that it can be very important to take quiet time to sit, to write, to meditate, to play music, and go back to that inner child and say, what happened? What are we doing now? One of the most useful phrases to me, as far as learning to care for myself as a whole being, is this phrase of be your own best parent. Because God bless our parents, they were doing the best they could, I guess. And that's that's going to be true for so many people. And even though the best they could do was not, it wasn't always what we needed, now we can leave that in the past and say, if I were my parent and I were my own child, what would I do for me? So I appreciate you sharing some of that story. I also know that in my experience, the worst depression that I experienced in my life was during a time when I was eating crap. And some of the best experiences that I've had in my life, or let me say that the frequency of the best experiences I've had in my life has been higher during times when I was eating higher vibration foods. So if your friends and family are struggling with mental health, don't discount the piece of the pie that is nutrition. I'm not saying that it can solve everything, but I'm saying that it is important. So this has been a delightful conversation so far. I'm trying to think of any other things that I can ask to bring it full circle. So you've got a book coming out. Will you tell me maybe a little bit more about your career in 2023? I don't know a whole lot about you professionally.
Okay. Well, I am the founder and CEO of How Well Are You? And my company is registered in the state of Florida. And my mission is to promote health and wellness through a holistic approach, which addresses carefully managing and nurturing the spirit, the mind slash soul, and the body, because I believe that they all, and you just alluded to it when you talked about, what we eat and how it's a factor in our mental health. So that is what I am promoting. I believe that the spirit, the soul, and the body makes up the entire being. And so we need to be able to carefully, as I say, manage and nourish all three aspects of all of those aspects in order to achieve optimum well-being, if you will. And that said, I'm actually launching a beta program around the third weekend of January. I'm taking 10 women. I already have 6, but I'm taking 10 women who have expressed an interest in transitioning to a plant-based lifestyle. I'm taking 10 women, and my program is called Forget Counting Calories, Lose 10 Pounds in 30 Days. So apart from the book, that's my big thing that's going on in January 2023 in my entrepreneurial journey. This is going to be a first for me, but I'm stepping out. And like I said, this is going to be a beta program. And all I'm asking in return from these 10 women is that they would give me a testimonial if they receive great results. So the 6 women that I have on board now are super, super, super excited. And so that is one of the things that I'm doing in 2023 other than the book. And I do believe that once the book is launched, because I am a speaker, that's going to open the door for many speaking engagements. And I've had several people that I've spoken to that seem to think that this book is going to somehow become a movie. And guess what? I'm in agreement with them. So who knows, Vic? I might be calling you to play the flute at the big grand opening, But so those are that's another thing that, because I want to help people. I want to say this. I had a young lady that reached out to me because I interviewed with Kamaria Dominique. She released the YouTube video yesterday, and Kamaria has quite a following on YouTube. And so since that video release, my DM has been flooded. But I had a specific one specific person that reached out to me that really grabbed me. She's an African American lady, beautiful. She's plus size. She weighs about 220 according to her, and she's like 5'3". And she says, but she's gorgeous. She's absolutely gorgeous. She says, I have to do something about this weight. She says, I'm about to become a caregiver for my mother, and I work 2 jobs. Now, that's only a little bit of what she told me. I'm sure she has many more components to her life. And she says, I have got to get this weight under control. And she's 5'3", I believe she said. And she says, I've got to get this weight under control. So I'm actually going to be meeting with her tomorrow because I told her about my beta program, and she agreed to participate. But I think she wants more, because I told her, I said, all I'm asking you is for a testimonial if you get great results. And I said, and if you do and you want to work with me from there on, then we can. And then she said, can I talk to you like now? So we did schedule. I'm going to be meeting with her tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to it. So what I'm saying is that I'm empowering, especially women, and men too. You're welcome, to reach out to me, but I'm especially empowering women. And then if I want to even narrow it down even more, Vic, women over the age of 60 or 50, because I started my plant-based journey at the age of 59. I am now 63. I have been raw for 205 days and feeling fine. And I think I'm about to cross over to fruitarian. So, I want women over 60 to know that You don't have to be broke down, walking on a cane, joints creaking. I mean, look at me. I ain't arrogant, you know. I ain't conceited. I'm just confident. Thank you. You know, look at my skin, and this is me. You know, yeah, I have on a little makeup, but makeup can only hide but so much. But my skin is just glowing. I'm vibrant. I have so much energy. I'm bouncing off the walls. I feel absolutely fantastic. So my motto is, I'm living well and long. So, and I want that for everybody. We don't have to suffer with a lot of these health issues that we're suffering with. If we would be more intentional and pay more attention to what we're consuming, that would make all the difference in the world. And I'm not here to beat anybody up or to badger anybody, because I have been there. I have done that. I have the hat, the T-shirt, and the stripes to show for it. But I'm only telling you what I know is good. And everybody's journey is different. What works for Cynthia may not work for Susie May, but I'm telling you, if you work it, whatever it is, will work.
You got to be intentional with it. You got to set your intentions. That's the most important, I think, too. Wow, thank you for sharing. That's very exciting about so you're going to be helping some women, and you're going to be doing a small group. I like to call it a mastermind. And one of the beautiful things about the mastermind is not only do you get guidance from your coach or whoever is leading the group, but you get that accountability and sharing ability with the other people who are your peers who are going through the same sorts of things. So let me know when your feature film comes out and you need some flute tracks on the soundtrack. I'll be there.
I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you.
And that's very exciting about your small group coaching. That'll be a great way to launch the year. And I'm sure that once you've gotten a taste of how great it can be to work with people in a close-knit group like that, you're going to want some more of it, and people are going to be looking for you too. So I just love supporting people like you who are raising the collective vibration, showing people ways to be healthier, to live healthier, to support each other. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for taking this time to chat with me. Did you have any other questions before we wrap it up here soon?
No, but I do have one comment. You guys, this guy is phenomenal. I told him, and I'm going to put you on blast, when we were communicating via inbox, via Messenger on Facebook, he was doing voice clips a lot of the times. And when I would hear Vic's voice, I can't explain the feeling, the great feeling that I would get when I would hear it. Hey, Cynthia, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, oh. So I feel like I've been knowing you forever, and thank you so much for your high vibration. Thank you so much for just being who you are. Thank you for having me to come and sit with you and talk with you. And I won't leave without saying this. I love my young folks. Y'all out there and you ain't young, don't mess with my young folks, because I will come for you. You all give me life and you all give me energy. It has been a pleasure. It has been an honor, and it has been a privilege to sit with you, a man of such caliber, of such knowledge and such wisdom. Thank you so much for having me, Vic. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you for those beautiful words, Cynthia. I'm here to serve for a brief time, so I'm grateful to the internet for giving me a platform for this group. For those of you who are able to interact with me here, as I said before, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, and we can share some little voice messages as well. I'll let you go now. Thank you so much, Cynthia. I look forward to hearing more of your story in the future and reading your book in the not too distant future as well. Cheers, y'all. Good night.